A great question can disrupt the assumptions. Great questions can disrupt the belief system.
How can we train ourselves to question? Because I think it's more natural for curious people.
And that started an avalanche. I think it was the first time in my life that my imagination was truly, in my adult life, that my imagination was like let off a leash.
If my work is then intentional and aligned to my goal, then that's like the ultimate win. And I think that's why study just anchors all of that activity.
Damn, what is that habit? That's curiosity. So that's a question, like, what are they going to say? And then... Hi, I'm Dave Conway, and I'm here with my wife, Jacqueline. Welcome to the 30-Day Year. On this podcast, we're sharing stories, ideas, and philosophies to show you what it takes to turn your annual income into your monthly income. I've learned that the first step to creating a 30-day year is entertaining new ideas that might at first appear strange or even laughable. But stick with us as we reveal that this idea is a very real way to build success. Our plan is to spark curiosity into what you're capable of achieving by exploring ideas around freedom, contribution, work, life, everything. The content may even disturb your perception of life a bit too, which we hope it does. This podcast is not about us, it's all about you. So sit back, relax, and come in with an open mind. Welcome to the 30-Day Year.
Our most popular episode was from a few months ago. It's called One Habit That Will Change Your Life, and it revolves around a very important mental habit that I know you talk a lot about with our clients. It's part of our Conway coaching system. It's like a huge thing within our mentorship. And today we're going to do like a part 2. So up to you who's listening if you want to go back and watch that one first and then come back to this one, or watch this one and go back. Either way, it kind of like dovetails together. And we're going to get into this habit of questioning. And I really like this conversation because we have a few different angles on it for today, different from the first one. And when I think of questioning, like a few different things come up for me, and I want to hear what comes up for you, because I think about my internal monologue a lot when I think of questioning. Like, what am I thinking about, and like questioning my thoughts? And it also, for me, connects deeply to curiosity, and how curiosity feeds this like need for asking questions. But I'm also a processor, so we'll get into that too.
What's that? What do you mean by that?
What's a processor?
Yeah.
I'm part computer. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. Where I feel like
CJ, Cyborg Jack.
Yeah, we were making robot jokes yesterday. This is like all
You
coming
probably
together.
were.
I was like talking like a robot. Anyways, I feel like when I learn something new, I don't immediately have a question. I feel like I need to like process it out for a little bit. I need to like think about it and question it for myself, and then pinpoint where I have confusion. And then I feel like I have questions. And I don't know what you're like. If we'll get to that, you'll share what you're like. But I know I need to like process things out before I'm like ready to ask. It's almost like I need to know like, how do I actually feel about that before I get into it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so we're going to get into questioning. I think the first place, just to reiterate, is, well, when you coach people, like in mindset, or, you know, even through this podcast, if you're listening to the podcast and kind of like following along with us, when you explain curiosity, like when you say curiosity or questioning, like why is that so important to helping us like achieve 30-day or goals or anything?
Yeah, there's definitely two factors that you can benefit from questioning. So the first one is that questioning disrupts our assumptions. So when we don't know something, we generally question that something. When we assume that we know what something is, then we generally don't. So we're all walking around with a lot of assumptions and beliefs that really aren't serving us, but yet we do defend them and we don't question them. So the first thing with questioning is to disrupt our current assumptions. Mm-hmm. And the second is that questioning creates curiosity. So questioning is if it's healthy, it is a showcase of curiosity, and curiosity creates desire, and desire creates change.
Okay, so you think questioning creates curiosity. Doesn't curiosity create
It's both.
questioning?
It's like,
Kinda
it's
works
like,
together,
yeah, it's
doesn't
like, yeah. And I guess the curiosity leads to the questioning, and then the questioning leads to desire. So curiosity builds desire. Like, think about it. It's like, here's a hook. It's like the one habit that will change your life. And you're like, damn, what is that habit? That's curiosity. So that's a
Sure.
question. Like, what are they going to say? And then here we are listening to the podcast.
Right.
All hooks are based upon this. Curiosity creates desire. Desire creates action.
Yes. Okay, cool. So this pulls me back to like early days in my career. And I remember I worked in a festival, and I used to like interrupt my boss like 25 times a day. I'd be like, hey, Kevin, like, what does this mean? Or what do I do with that? Or who's that person? And I probably drove him nuts.
Because she had a lock on the door? Or?
Probably. And our offices were like interconnected, kind of like, our offices today are like interconnected. So it was very easy for me to interrupt him. But I remember him telling me that he really liked it. He appreciated it, that I was questioning and I was inquisitive was the word he used. I was like inquisitive because I really wanted to understand things. So it's so interesting. It's like when we question things, when we just start to like ask why, then it can just provide the understanding so that something becomes more meaningful, because I hate doing something without really understanding why now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm like sitting down.
Or talking about something you don't understand either is a terrible habit.
Sure. Yeah. But especially when it comes to work or like working on, thinking about goals, it's like, I don't want to do something that's not like intentionally lined up towards that anymore. You know what I mean? Like I used to do lots of busy work and that would kind of like satisfy my need to get things done because I like very much need to achieve tasks. Like it makes me feel so good. It's like, ooh, I got that task done. But now I'm at a place where it's like, well, if that task doesn't like line up to the goal, I almost feels like I wasted my time. And I think that when we begin to question how we spend our time, we question the things we're doing. And then from that questioning, we begin to understand what we're doing more deeply. Then it just makes us feel so much better about our work. It makes us more impactful, actually, is my belief. And I guess, I don't know, maybe it depends on the topic, but when a topic's really fresh for me, like I remember being in seminars with you, like in LA at Bob Proctor seminars, and we'd have these like cool opportunities to do like Q&As with Bob Proctor. I had like no idea what to ask him. I really didn't. Like everything seemed so different. Like the mind, the sub, like all the different like things he was teaching, like everything was so big, and I was just trying to understand like what was happening, because it was kind of like reshaping your perception of your world and how to approach things. And so I wasn't sure where I was at. So I feel like when I'm on unsettled ground, I just need to kind of get balanced, and then the questions can start to pour in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my mentorships that I have a marvelous mentor, Jane, and we based our mentorship upon the Socratic Method, which is, so if anyone knows about Socrates, basically how he used to educate people was, them and they go there and what's those things that they wear, like the Greeks used to wear, like a toga? Yeah, toga.
Okay.
I don't know if he did or not, but let's just pretend they did.
For sure he did.
Yeah, so Socrates would be in his toga, sitting at like some kind of a fountain or something with some fig trees around. And his students would come, and basically he would just ask them a question. And then they would leave for a week, and they'd go and they'd contemplate and think about that question. And then they would come back with their answers. And then if they had any questions in regards to their findings, or they had questions for Socrates and they wanted more of his wisdom, then they would ask that question. And then if Socrates could answer, he would. And this was called education. Which is a duco, which is to draw out from within. So he wasn't just, slamming ideas at them. He was trying to spark their own power inside to explore. And questioning is like an exploration. So Jane and I, she taught me this method, and we base our mentorship upon it, her and I. And I remember for the first 18 months, the reason I'm saying this, because you triggered this in my mind when you're like, earlier days, I didn't have any questions because I didn't really understand what the hell was going on.
That's exactly it.
Right.
I didn't.
So you could have yelled out, "What the hell's going on in here?"
Yeah, I should have been like, I don't know what to say to you right now. I just don't. Like, I had empty answers.
Yeah.
Or empty questions.
Yeah. And I had endless questions.
Yeah, you'd probably been in it longer than me. So
there was one time when we were down in Arizona, and my manager at the time, Arash, he encouraged me to ask lots of questions because he's like, there's some shy people in this group and they're not going to speak up. So ask a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So I started asking a lot of questions, and then Bob Proctor looked at me and he's like, "What's up with you, Conway? Just like listening to the sound of your own voice?" I was like, "Damn it, Arash, you got me in shit."
That's funny. You got in trouble for it.
I got in trouble for it.
That's funny.
But with Jane, for the first 18 months, I didn't have an immense amount of questions because the truth is I didn't know what the hell she was talking about. So
exactly.
I can relate.
Okay. You get it. It's because they're just shifting your perception. So if you're still in that like hazy phase, it's tough to know what to ask because you're not even sure fully what's going on.
That's right.
Yeah.
But conversation...
Which leads, can I jump in?
Yeah,
Which I think leads to something that's really important. It's really good to own up to something if you just don't know.
Yeah.
Never pretend like you know.
No.
You know what I mean? Like just own up. Like if you just don't know, then just I don't know. It's totally fine to not know.
I listened to a man, and I would recommend everyone check him out. His name is Swami Gurianda, Kriyandaada or some Gurianda, Swami Gurianda, K-I-R Yanda. And he was one of the disciples of Yogananda, who brought yoga to the Western world.
Mm-hmm.
And Swami Gurianda says, every day I give a prayer of gratitude that I didn't share my opinion in my 20s because I was so stupid. It's like, I didn't poison the world with it.
Right. He just knew he just didn't know anything.
Yeah, and you're in different phases, you know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would benefit from stopping themselves every now and then and asking, do I understand this?
Yeah.
You know, Bob would say that if you can't get up in front of a room of people and teach people something for 15 minutes or an hour,
mm-hmm.
and that they understood what you were talking about, then you don't understand it.
Mm.
So there's a lot of people in the modern world that are sharing opinions on things that they really don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not questioning themselves good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can question yourself. I remember Napoleon Hill said this once too. He said, whenever you hear someone say something, ask them this question: how do you know?
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised how many people can't answer that question after they just said something.
Right, because they just haven't done the deeper thinking, like asking going through is it 6 levels or 7 levels of like breaking down an idea? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Well, I feel like you taught me this. If you were like, hey, Dave, why are you mindset coach?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me.
Oh, because I've come across ideas that have helped my life, and I think they can help others.
And why do you think they can help others?
Because they help me, and inside we're all the same.
And how do you know that?
That's a good question. I guess the results have proven that we are.
And how do you get people results?
By getting them to implement these ideas in their life.
And how do you help them implement the ideas?
By creating an environment that's conducive to the ideas being in their life.
Okay, what would be the last question?
I don't know. You tell me.
Well, you ask 7 layers deep to get to the understanding, right?
Yeah,
to get to the core of it.
That's not for me.
That's not for you?
No, that's not from me.
Oh, really?
No.
Sure it was. Damn.
Well,
I guess.
Maybe I was in an illumination or something. And
maybe. Anyways, the purpose of that was just to say that you can go so deep into why you're doing something. Like, look how deep it went, just me asking you like 5 questions about what you do. There was a lot that came out of that.
Yeah, I found that if you ask people, 2 to 4 layers deep of a question,
it gets pretty thin.
It
doesn't get
thin.
deeper.
Yeah.
It gets more shallow.
Yeah.
Because I honestly think, like we hear in marketing all the time, a confused mind says no. But really, it's like a confused mind says, I don't know. Like, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck.
Yeah.
So if you're stuck, that's kind of the same thing as no, isn't it? Like, you just don't know which direction to move in. So I want to talk about how can we train ourselves to question? Because I think it's more natural for curious people. Like, I think you're pretty naturally curious. Like, you're very conversational with people. You're curious about people. I've witnessed this, and I think you'd agree. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, I'm.
You're very curious.
Yeah, very curious.
Yeah. So that's like it's easy for you to I would say adopt this habit because it's easy. It's natural, right? If it's not natural for somebody, like maybe, I don't know, maybe it is natural for all humans. Maybe we're all naturally curious, but I think it's just easier for some than for others. So how would you help someone develop this habit?
Start by asking questions. I don't know, that's a difficult question to answer, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you have a desire for something more?
Mm-hmm.
If the person has that, then you can start to question things. If a person doesn't have the desire for more, or they're not interested in change or anything like that, it'd be impossible to teach them that habit, because you're trying to share something with them to make them curious, and they might not be curious at all. So that's difficult to answer. If a person does want to make changes, then the first question you need to ask is, what do you want?
Right.
That's a powerful question. I remember Bob used to say, I can't help you unless you want something. So what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients where I've met with them and I asked them what they want and they couldn't answer. So I sent them away for a week. I said, here, do this practice. The 7 days of questioning, the 7 days of wants, writing down what do I really want, and then come back after 7 days. And if you discover a want of yours, then we can have that discussion.
Yes. So it's like asking yourself specific questions.
Yeah.
Questions that help you go deeper. Like, what do you want? That's a fairly probing question.
Yeah, very much so. And it takes more time than just 2 seconds. I'm like, well, let me think about that.
Right.
First time in my life ever actually thinking, what do I want,
Yes. Yeah. So it's really about the nature of the question that you start asking yourself. Like,
yeah, I think the most impactful question that really triggered this version of my life was being asked, what do you really want? Mm-hmm. That question just changed everything. First time in my life I was ever encouraged to sit and ask myself with a pen and a piece of paper, like, what do I want? What do I really want? And that started an avalanche. I think it was the first time in my life that my imagination was truly, in my adult life, that my imagination was like let off a leash.
Right. Okay, that's interesting too. So there's like a connection between questioning and the imagination, then, you'd say.
Questioning controls the imagination.
Questioning control? What does that mean?
Well, if I ask you a question right now, what color's your shirt?
Yeah, it's denim.
Right, well, I control your mind now.
Right. Okay. Questioning controls my imagination. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because if you're saying, what do you want? Then that would immediately spark, like images, or...
That's right.
You'd start, going down that line of thought. Like, what do I want? Like, do I want a vacation? Do I want a new job? Do I want a new house? Do I want, all these things that someone may want? You should pop into your mind. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like, I'm a Manchester United fan. And
That's
I always...
too bad.
Yeah, prayers for United. And I always feel bad for the players when they're being interviewed after by these journalists and the coaches, because these journalists, like, they're like freaking evil. They are asking questions in a certain way to extract an answer.
Bad answers.
Then they can publish those answers as hooks.
They can exploit people.
They can exploit them. And it's like in the room, it's like just being in there with a bunch of, hyenas. And they're intelligent hyenas too. Highly trained, appear to be soulless. So when they ask the question can control the answer. So great interviewers do this. Like a Barbara Walters is probably a great questioner.
She was.
That's right. And it's the questions that have built our society too. Great minds that have asked great questions. Right before we thought, we were under the impression that the universe evolved around us. And then Galileo started to question that. And then he discovered that we evolve around the sun. And also learned that we're not the center of the universe either. And, we I think we killed him for that. I don't know. Did we kill him?
Galileo? Yeah, he died in shame.
Yeah, all right. There you go. So he died in shame because he asked a question.
Right.
And
you don't celebrate the questioners until they're gone or proven right.
most people are telling you what to do, but they're not asking great questions. And there's questions that can really probe and make some serious change. So as I said at the beginning, like a great question can disrupt the assumptions. Great questions can disrupt the belief system.
Yes, for sure. And part of our coaching system, the Conway coaching system, includes study. There's it's step 4 of the system that we bring people through. Study is part of our events and mentorships and everything. It's really, really important. And one of the greatest benefits I see from it is that, I mean, you're developing your conscious mind, right? The mind is broken into the conscious and the subconscious, right? And I think when we begin to study, we begin to develop that part of our mind much more intentionally. And through the practice of the study, the questions become more interesting, or they become deeper, or they become Barbara Walters style versus, like, I don't know, nothingness style, whatever it is. So I like that that's part of what we do, because I know for myself from engaging in mindset study, it's really made me more inquisitive. I've always been pretty inquisitive naturally, but it's made me more inquisitive. And I think that's a massive gift, just from picking up a book. Like, I've got my green Bible here, my Conway mentor, not Conway mentor, my Troward book here that we put our names on, by the way, when you come to our events. And being able to pick that up and read something in there to stimulate thinking is invaluable, because I find if I'm inspired, I do better work. And if my work is then intentional and aligned to my goal, then that's like the ultimate win. And I think that's why study just anchors all of that activity. So I think it's a skill to be developed. I don't think it's natural for all of us.
100%.
It's got to be developed. And I think the study is the key to help develop it.
So, the willingness to ask questions. You know, we're encouraged to do good in life, but I don't know if we're all that encouraged to ask questions. And it's interesting because if you go way back, like biblical, like where Jesus, the Sermon on the Mount, was encouraging questioning. You know, seek and you shall find, ask and shall be opened. For those that knock, it shall be opened unto you. Like, you know, he's encouraging questions. And that's one of the most famous speeches ever recorded in human history. And here we are asking the question. He's encouraging questions, because questions, the deeper the question, the more penetrating it is. And the deeper it is, then the more value it can have.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know you were saying that it's tough to answer my question about how to train the mind into asking questions, but you mentioned if you've got a goal or a desire or you want to grow, then that's like the motive, I suppose, behind developing the skill. Is that kind of what you said? I feel like that's what you said. Yeah, essentially. But I feel like we can have negative motives to questioning. Like, we've all known like the nosy sorts or the gossipy sorts, and they like, you know, we like to say, oh, the hens are clucking, like everyone's clucking. Because and it's this like negative form of questioning, right? And it's really destructive. And, you know, I don't know, it's gossip, it's nosiness, it's, I think, a culture killer, especially in business. Like, if that is growing, if there's that attitude, it's really bad. You got to like nip it in the bud. So for those that may suffer with that, do you got any advice?
Suffer with what?
The gossipy nosiness.
Oh, just don't stop doing that.
Just stop doing it.
Yeah.
How do you like pivot that? Is it just, I think it's like a trained habit, right? So how do we pivot the habit? You may already have the habit of questioning, but it may be for the negative. So how do we pivot it over? Just start asking the better questions.
Yeah, why do you do that?
Why do you do that?
Yeah, cut that out. I think you can just be told to cut that out. Gossip is so destructive and corrosive. It's a brutal habit.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah, it's just something to look out for. Like, it is like a form of this, but it's the bad side of it.
You know, I found that people that are most comfortable with themselves, so they genuinely ask better questions because they're allowed to ask themselves questions. So humility brings questions. Pride brings no questions.
Right.
If a person is very prideful or arrogant, and you know these questions, like where people are asking you a question just to try and prove you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I've had people like that in my life because I talk about, you know, different things so that are very misunderstood by almost everybody. So all people ask me questions, and I know they're asking me questions to try and attack me or prove me wrong or something like that. And I just say, you know what? I know people like you, man. Hit the road with your dumbass question. Not falling for your BS.
Right.
And yeah, there's people that do that. A lot of people ask questions just to try and prove you wrong or tear you down.
Yeah.
And some people are genuinely curious and about you and people and life itself. I think we have to get curious in a few different areas. The first place we have to get curious is about ourselves. You know, like, what makes me tick? Who am I really? You know, people are walking around with this assumption like they know who they are. Okay. That's probably not accurate at all. So number one is get curious about yourself. Number two, I would encourage people to get curious about life itself. Like, get curious about nature and how you relate to nature. One of the craziest questions I ever asked, I was at home in my recliner studying, and I looked out at a tree in my backyard, and I asked myself, how am I the same as that tree? And just a deluge of ideas have began to pour out. How am I the same and how am I different? These are two questions in regards to my relationship with a tree. And then the third is ask yourself, what am I capable of? I think if we start getting a little more curious about our potential, start getting a little extra curious about the role that our mind is playing in our life, our state of mind in our life, I think you're going to start to discover some pretty magnificent truths.
Yeah, I like that question. I also think it could be a reflective question where it's, well, what have I achieved? What have I already done? I know that's something I've read in one of the training kits that you'd written actually a couple of years ago, and it was, I think, called like a mindset guide to developing confidence. And it went, the questions you asked were really related to like, well, what have you achieved? Like, don't forget that. You still can own that. That can still be something you can be, can celebrate. Not that you hitch your wagon to that forever, but it just is a reflection that you can do some great stuff, but there's just so much more to go, right?
You know, what's interesting is like you'll see people that like come out of a bad situation. So there is stories where people are in terrible situations. Maybe they live in poverty, rough neighborhood, disorder and dysfunction in their life, and they overcome that and they move out of poverty and they move into mediocrity, and they become a functioning person in society, and they stay there, and then they wear that change like a little pin, like a little pride thing, and they should be proud. That's really great that you shift a level in society, but very rarely have I sat with someone that asked themselves, if I moved myself from poverty into like mediocrity or comfortability, could I move myself from mediocrity into wealth?
Or greatness?
Or, and poverty and mediocrity are the most common vibrations on this planet. True wealth and abundance is one of the rarest.
Yeah.
So it's like eye of the needle stuff, but it's interesting how the same power. I remember when I used to go to the gym and I'd see a lot of quite physically fit people, and they might be going home on the bus or in a crummy car or something like that. And I used to always think, like, amazing, like they don't know that the same power that shaped their physique is the same power that can bring them anything. They don't consider it.
Right.
They're not thinking.
Yeah.
And don't confuse activity for thinking, because thinking is very rare in this world.
Well, not when you start questioning.
No,
when we start thinking, right?
And I think contemplative thought is the most powerful form of thought. So it's like it's thinking with a bit of questioning behind it.
Yeah. You have some questions that you always ask our clients to use when they read different essays or different material. Do you want to share what those are?
Yeah, there's three things that we ask. So when we study powerful information, number one. The second is we study ourself. So we study us, like our results and our thinking and our belief system. But the third is a question. So then we ask the question, do I believe what I'm studying? Do I believe that? Would I like that? So we take ourselves and through questioning, we can actually put ourselves into the books. Do I agree with that? Do I believe that?
Yeah.
Do my results reflect that? When's the last time I grew? What was the circumstance situation that caused that growth? When's the last time I kind of fell to pieces? What was that all about?
Sure.
Where did I lose control?
Yeah, I see that. I think, well, what I'm studying right now is Touching Lightly, which is a Thomas Troward essay. And then when I read it, I can see, because the whole premise of that essay is like, what's the essential and what's the incidental, right? What's the essential factor or the energizing factor, and what's the incidental or the external factor? And when I look at it through his lens, I can begin to see examples in my life where I've maybe reversed it and like put all the pressure on the outside world as opposed to the energizing factor. And so I find it just, this opportunity to observe yourself through a different perception. And I think that's what I gain from the study. And I think it's not almost like machine gun questioning. It's more like situational for me when I read. But it's what you're saying. It's like yourself compared to what's being stated to you. And if you trust the person giving you the information, then it allows you to see how perhaps you were misaligned with how you approached something. Just the other day, I said this to the girls. I think it just went over their head, but that's okay. I'll keep saying it, and hopefully one day it'll land. But I said to them, girls, all there is in life is situations and how you react to them. And it's just going to all be like relationships. You're going to have, partners one day. You're going to have jobs one day, children one day, all kinds of friendships, all kinds of relationships will come and go in your life, different situations, different opportunities. And then there's going to be how you respond in each of those situations. And because I look back in my own life, I'm like, that's pretty much been it. Like, it's been like situations, choices that I've made, and then how I responded to those situations and choices that I've made. And then through the responses, and maybe it was reactions, maybe less responding, more reactions, or vice versa. But I think it's just taking the time to zoom out and like look at those past situations and how you responded to look for where you can grow from it. I know it's there's just been tons of opportunities in my life where I would put my foot in my mouth, or I would miscalculate something, or I would just miss the mark, right? Fail. And then it's been the times when I've looked at those situations when I've learned the most, or I've been able to course correct and then make things better.
Yeah, and even the act of setting a goal is a question, can I do this? The act of even setting a 30-day year, what an exploration that starts. Mm-hmm. So as you start to ask questions, starts to change your imagination, starts to change what you think about, you become more of an explorer. Mm-hmm. And as you get more exploratory, you find that you become more inspired. I
agree. Yeah. It sparks that side of your brain. Because what did you say? The questioning sparks the imagination.
Yeah. Controls it.
Cool. So what's the question people should ask if you could choose one from everything we've shared?
There's one question that I have been playing with now for maybe a couple of years, and it's the question of, am I allowed? It's a great question. Mm-hmm. Am I allowed to explore this mentally? Am I allowed to go out and earn this amount of money? Am I allowed to go and do this professionally? Am I allowed? And I think it's a fantastic question to start to ask ourselves.
If the first question is, what do I want? The second question is, am I allowed?
Yeah.
So we have to kind of figure out what we may want first and then determine if.
Yeah. And then the third would be, am I willing?
Am I willing? Bob used to say, are you the ones that achieve success are the ones that are willing and able to change their paradigm.
That's right.
So if you have a paradigm around something, belief system, you got to be willing, and then able to pivot that to move to the next level.
Yeah, so the three super questions are, what do I really want? Followed by, am I allowed? Followed by, am I willing? And if you can answer yes to those or figure those out, then it's time to get to work. Hey there, if you enjoyed today's podcast, leave a review, hit subscribe, share with a friend, and have a fantastic day.
Sound Lounge by T-Bone.